Alright, we should be getting audio and visual right now. Okay, good. I'm just updating some stuff on my end really quickly. Alrighty, I'm leaving a comment on Loki's multiple kinds of mischief. 8 o'clock p.m. tonight with the Mad Doctor. Oh, I gotta leave a comment on that lady. Okay, let's see here. What a sloppy mess I got going on here. I think I got it though. My biggest gripe is right now I got like too much going on in these application windows, so I had to split it up a little bit. What I really should do is put the StreamYard window up on top, put YouTube below it. Okay, there we go. We got a little overlapping window action up here. Now I can monitor the OBS window. We can open up the dock for the chat. We can say show me live chat, and we're on. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm wearing an earbud in my right ear because I want to try to compare my audio levels to previous streams as well as other people's streams. I want to try to get this tuned with something consistent with whatever I've done before. I don't want this to be particularly loud, so I can hear myself. That's a start. Now let's see if I can turn off the audio plugin. 0, 3, 2, 1, mark. Yep, good, okay. This is a success. So we are able to utilize our audio filters from OBS. Now let's see if I can switch displays. Yep, I could switch displays. Okay, good. Yeah, because I had to do some weird trickery here. Basically, I had to click start streaming or manage broadcast, and then when you click manage broadcast, it lets you pick your live stream from within OBS. So I had to, let's see, step one, I went to StreamYard. And I created a stream, and I told StreamYard to send it to YouTube, or whatever phrase. They use some kind of terminology like link it to YouTube. I forgot. But you click on your own YouTube account. So step one, go to StreamYard, create the stream, and link it, send it to your YouTube account. Step two, you go to your YouTube channel, you click on, you go to your studio, you go to content, and then you go to the live tab. And under the live tab, you'll see your new stream. But when you click on the stream, it still doesn't go live. Because until you go to OBS over here, and, make sure you hit manage broadcast, select the correct stream, and then hit start streaming, it will not work, which I find very weird because I was only using OBS as a virtual webcam. I had no, I don't know why OBS would be used if StreamYard is perfectly capable of receiving video from my webcam. I mean, StreamYard can receive video directly from my webcam. It can receive audio directly from my microphone. And they got their own server from what I understand, so I would have thought everything would go through them. But in any case, it works despite me not understanding why it works. It works. So I will have to explore that. This was like a last-ditch effort to see if it would work. So now that we are online, we're going to go ahead and talk about Drawrf-Planets. As you all know, everyone knows about the first 9 planets, the original 9 planets. So, after Neptune and Uranus, and let's talk about Uranus. Uranus, who cares? It's funny to say Uranus, but I think it's something like Uranus, but I think it sounds absurd no matter what. Uranus is unique because, it's basically sideways. And, in space where there's no right side up, what you might use as your point of reference for what's up and what's down would be the plane of the ecliptic. And so in sci-fi books such as in the Hyperion Cantos, when ships were doing battle and they would go into a star system, they would essentially have a gentleman's agreement, or I guess it would just be, already understood that you would align your ship with the plane of the ecliptic. Now, I would think in war, you don't necessarily have an obligation to follow such conventions. In the Japanese anime Legend of the Galactic Heroes, there were 1 or 2 battles where the opposing group would actually come in from above. And I think this makes sense, especially if your opponent is not expecting it. But let's see if we can find... I really wanted to find a picture of, or a diagram of Uranus with relation to everything else. But, there we go. We got the polar region, that little blue stick over here. That's probably not the clearest picture of what we're looking for. And over here is just Uranus, but you can see the north and south pole are very distinctly facing or towards and away from the sun, depending on what position in its own orbit it's hanging out in. Most other planets that orbit the sun are not like this. And we can see over here we got this very ugly blurry picture here, or we can go and use this low res picture, or we can use this cool diagram which we're getting from some random GIF site. But it illustrates very clearly. You can see the circular thing above each planet, and Uranus has it on the side. Now, why is it like that? Well, although we don't know for certain because nobody was there when the event happened, it stands to be reasoned that Uranus probably got hit by a very large object. Perhaps Uranus got hit by a planet the size of our planet. Perhaps it got hit by something larger or smaller, but anything of a large enough size moving at a high enough velocity would be able to alter your tilt. And that is what happened. The we're all tilted on a certain axis, or our tilt is of a certain amount of degrees, and Uranus's axis is like close to 90 degrees basically, which is just insanity. Our tilt pretty much is the major contributing factor for as to why we have seasons. And interestingly enough, Mars pretty much has similar seasonal lengths. I mean, aside from its orbit and all of that, but it does have 4 seasons from what I can see here. You can argue that Venus does not necessarily have much in the way of seasons, but that entire planet is a hellscape, so I don't think seasons really come into play when it comes to surviving on that planet. Okay, I'm checking my audio here. Alright, so I can hear what I sound like outside. Sound check 1 2, testing 1 2. I think. Okay, we're gonna goose up the volume level from 137 to 150, 170. Audio 170. Sound check 1 2. Testing 1 2. Audio 170. Audio going up to 200. 200. Okay, we're now going to go from 200 and we're going to lower it. We're bringing it to like 20. Alright, volume level is now 0. Not trying to give symbols, I'm just trying to draw a number 0 here. I don't think if this ever meant anything, but in this case I'm trying to draw a 0. So, if the audio is muted, this is the only way I would know. But actually, I can still hear myself, so apparently this is one of life's mysteries here, so this doesn't do anything here. Now, good news is if I want to goose up my audio, I can still do it from inside of OBS. But as long as it's working and as long as I can depend on OBS's VU meter, I'm a happy camper. Okay, very good. Alright, now let's go and compare myself to a friend or two. Just gonna play a video from a friend's YouTube channel and see how they sound. Okay, so Loki is about same audio level, maybe a little louder. Now we're gonna go to another YouTube channel. Alright, And Mr. Nerdporial Lifeform has just uploaded a video introducing people to his Nerdporial Continuum. Okay, now audio level is pretty moderate compared to, similar to mine basically, you know, we're both in moderate levels. Now we're gonna go here. Okay. Nice and loud over here. Okay, so now one more check of audio on my own channel. Assuming my device wants to cooperate. Oh, my 3D printer is doing something. Here, let's check on it real quick. Alright, I went back to full webcam because I don't want anyone seeing, whoops, my password or email address, even though they're not huge secrets. No reason to volunteer that information. Alright, good. YouTube is reloading. I'm reconnecting to my downstairs computer. Oh, yeah, that's done printing with, not much to see here. It looks like a dong, but it's not. It's a space shuttle. Oh, come on, yo. So, yeah. This is the biggest item I've ever 3D printed. I had a botched print last week where I printed out this same exact object and whoops, we should stop recording, and it came out awful. Like, it just came out terrible. So basically the top of the nose cone didn't come out. Actually, most of it came out pretty nice. The nose cone got messed up because the Z-axis was not elevating. Once it got up to a certain height, it wouldn't move any higher, and so it kept printing the same layer, or it kept printing all of the following, like let's say there was this many layers left, it kept printing those layers on the same part, so you ended up with like a smushed circle at the end of the nose. Alrighty, so now we got to do a little housekeeping because I'm gonna call this one the Botched Buran, because that's the name of the Russian space shuttle, the Buran. And we're gonna call this one the Good Buran. In fact, I don't even have to give it a name. Now, here's an interesting experiment. I don't think this is a good idea, but we're going to try it anyway. We're going to move a network file over. Well, that's a little concerning, actually. Whoops. That was when I was monitoring my turtle tank. Huh. I think I'm missing some data. Okay, so we just did a cut and paste over the network, but within a network drive. Now, I don't know if these are realistic numbers here because I just went from network location to network location. These two network locations are on the same server, but I'm not sure if the file system is actually going across the file system or if it's moving the data to my computer and back. My guess is it's using my computer as a middleman, meaning that this is a pretty inefficient way to go about doing what I'm doing right now. But it worked. So now we're going to go back here, show me my recordings, and we're going to take these two guys here. We just hit Control X to cut them, and we're going to paste them over here. Because what I want to do is connect to this on my upstairs computer. And run it through a video encoder such as Handbrake. And I think that is going to be the last thing I do before I leave here. But yeah, so Uranus got hit by a large object and got tilted on its axis, and that is why it's the odd planet out. And we can look at the solar system, aka solar system, and we're gonna go and pull it up in a real star map in a moment. But I just wanted to, you know, show us the you know, stuff within some level of reference here. Doesn't really show us the axis or axial tilt. That is the $5 word I was looking for, axial tilt. But we get a general idea. We see, I don't know what this soul ring is. I'm gonna have to look into that later on. We got the Kuiper Belt. Now that's what I really want to talk about, is the Kuiper Belt. And wow, the moon looks great. Yo, the moon looks just like in Star Trek 8 First Contact, when they when Picard when Riker goes up into the Phoenix with Zephyr Cochrane. That's what the moon looks like right now. And yeah, you know, I want to go all over the place with some of the upcoming content. So I have a Google slideshow or Google PowerPoint thing running here, and what I want to do is build a slideshow with pictures of the moon, because what I wanted to do was basically go through these shots and, you know, show people why they're not fake, or at least give my reasoning as to why I believe they are not fake. And I don't want to just download these pictures, because if I download a picture at any resolution, well, one, I'm surprised this is a JPEG. Although, I guess, in all fairness, I don't deserve to download a 10 gigabyte high-res scan. It's not that I don't deserve it, but, you know, if everyone was downloading large format TIFF files, you know, it would eat a lot of bandwidth. So I'm surprised that, unless this is a TIFF image, yeah, no, they're all JPEGs. They might be very high quality JPEGs, but all of the available images are JPEGs. So what I want to do is, when I do a presentation, oh, am I showing you my screen? I got it. Oh, good, I am. When I do a presentation showing these pictures, I want to preserve the file name or the picture name and the description, so that that information is together in my presentation or in my reference archives. But also, in case I have to go back to the archive and get a different copy of the image, I'll have an easier time pulling it up. But essentially, I remember watching a video years ago where a guy was basically making fun of the videos and pictures of the lunar lander, and his assertion was that it looks like it's made from garbage, like it doesn't look like it's made of anything particularly sturdy. And so I think we're going to go and get ourselves a higher resolution image of this guy here. I missed the old Windows photo viewer. Yeah, I must be using the wrong image viewer here. Alright. View actual size. Good. Perfect. So, a guy was looking at these pictures, you know, doing his flat earth moon hoax video, and he's observing how some of this looks like it's just, look, it's like warped material. It looks like sheets of plastic or sheets of very thin fiberglass, maybe a sheet metal or cardboard or like cardstock paper, just, you know, glued together. And the guy's saying, come on, how could this go a million miles, or, you know, whatever distance it went, 250,000 300,000 miles. And I mean, it's pretty well documented how this vehicle was built, so it's okay to have doubts. But, you know, if you're so uninformed to not be able to do your homework on it, well, then it's hard to help someone out. But, you know, I mean, we have videos from these NASA archives right here, and it just seems like a whole lot of effort to fake it. Okay, hopefully you're hearing audio. Okay, good. I'm not hearing the audio right now. Oh, I'm not wearing my headphones right now. Let me take out my Lieutenant Uhura headphones. I love these headphones. I always wanted headphones that went in your ear. Lieutenant Uhura on the original Star Trek always had those that little earbud. And, you know, I'm glad we invented them. Okay, now I can hear it. Alright, so the Lunar Lander Module.
During the Apollo mission, this
version.
vehicle, the Lunar Module, will take 2 men and when the
some animation
the Lunar
content.
exploration period docking
This is
hatch connects the
showing
Lunar and carries the
how we
operation
will
period
basically
with
dock
the command module.
the ascent stage after everything is concluded.
This docking hatch connects the lunar modules between visible.
It's kind of cool.
Critical moments of dock, well equipped for its part of the
So
job.
what I'm looking for is
Mission.
like
Propulsion too occupies prime attention.
that
on the
alone.
lunar
Okay,
module.
so when you know the flat Earth / moon hoaxer is arguing that this looks fake as heck, say okay, sure, it looks like it's made like junk, fine. But there's 2 things worth noting here. One, when that rocket, let's say, went up like this, if this is the nose cone over here, and your capsule with the men inside is up here, and this is a cylindrical compartment that men can go inside as well, and of the equipment, the lunar lander was enclosed in a space sort of like a little cone. And the thing was, when going up to space, the lunar lander was not exposed to the elements of the atmosphere until after it was well into space, well into orbit. Then that cover would come off, and that not so aerodynamic looking, because look, I get it, this is not very aerodynamic, it's not supposed to be aerodynamic because this part is never exposed to the atmosphere, it's well enclosed. And so fine if somebody wants to think outside the box and question, you know, preconceived notions, but they gotta not be lazy. If I'm gonna listen to them, I need them to not be lazy and do their homework and understand that this was enclosed inside, you know, the rocket, or inside the upper stage of the rocket during launch. And so other parts of the rocket, any part that is exposed to Earth's atmosphere has to have, you know, a very robust exterior, has to be strong, can't have parts that are going to snap off. It has to you know, be able to resist heat and be somewhat aerodynamic depending on the direction it's traveling in, or have an ability to exploit the atmosphere to slow down, like during re-entry. But this here never goes into the atmosphere. This part of the ship gets discarded before we land on the Earth, and when landing on the moon with its virtual lack of an atmosphere, it's not an issue. Or going even 200,000 miles, 300, even 1,000,000 miles, it only goes about 250,000. But if it went 5 million miles, it wouldn't really make much of a difference. Like, it's in space, the biggest risk it would have is maybe micrometeorite damage. Now, what about this gold foil stuff here? Well, it's not really gold foil. Mylar. Whoops, sorry about that. This is Mylar. Mylar blanket, Mylar film. This stuff will make you feel warm in like a half a second. I'm already sweating bullets from putting this on. Nah, but it's pretty warm. The general theory of what this is designed to do is, as your infrared heat energy goes away from your body, this is supposed to reflect it back towards your body. It doesn't really have much in the way of insulating properties, but it can block heat or allow heat to enter. So what I did was, I actually put some Mylar on my window behind me, in order to keep the sun out, because this is a south-facing window. I even thought about lining parts of the ceiling with this, but I don't want to do anything too insane without understanding more about the science behind it. But yeah, so that's what that is. I have a gold Mylar blanket. That's what you're looking at in the picture. That's a silver Mylar blanket. But they do make gold Mylar blankets. And in a documentary I saw, they actually show you the scene where they're trying to figure out how to insulate this against the hot and coldness of space, against the sun or against the coldness. And basically, some nerd, I think working on Long Island for Northrop Grumman, figured out you can just take multiple layers of this, maybe like 5-10 layers of this film here. Take 5 or 10 layers, and in between those layers you'll have a little bit of an air gap. And where there is no air, I mean, apparently has some capability of dealing with the heat. So there we go. Sunlight bounces off, internal heat from inside the vehicle hopefully stays inside. But either way, of course the vehicle isn't made of Mylar. You know, there's aluminum tubing or other types of metals, you know, all throughout this vehicle. And of course this is not just, you know, plastic or cardstock paper. I mean, look at this part here. I mean, that looks kind of robust there. I mean, and it would have to be pretty strong because, you know, this is gonna push the weight of the entire vehicle or the mass of the entire vehicle in any given direction, and it has to do it in an instant as the man is pushing that joystick. But this is what's underneath. So before you see that weird, you know, corrugated, whatever it is, you know, plastic-like material, it looks like cardstock paper, but clearly there is something under it. Okay, that looks like a sort of reinforced aluminum or reinforced titanium or some kind of metal that isn't particularly thick, but has ribs in it to help give it more strength. And you see it all throughout. You see what looks like a cylindrical shape over here, which would be consistent with a pressure hull.
Position as it nears the surface of the moon. There are 4 clusters, you know, of rocket engines.
This alone, like, you're not gonna fake this. And I went way off topic, by the way. I'm not even talking about dwarf planets anymore, but this right here, like, you wouldn't go through the effort of designing plumbing for thruster quads if you were faking it. You would do something a little different. You wouldn't make your wiring look so ugly unless it needed to look so ugly. You would make it look pretty. You'd make it look like a Star Trek episode.
Each cluster contains 4 engines used
they wouldn't be wrapping a coil of wire. Here we are.
Each cluster
you got like Mylar tape all over the place, which I have that too. Mylar. So that is a Mylar space blanket that's got some kind of coating on it. But Mylar tape is just yellow tape. You'll see it on components if you take apart computers, you know, laptops and handheld devices. You will sometimes see Mylar tape. And although I don't have Mylar tape in front of me, yeah, that is the stuff. But this part interests me. So it's like a little, like, plastic bag, almost a sandwich bag with like a little knot tied on it. So for some reason there may be some spare screws in there, or maybe it's like a work in progress and the engineer just kind of said, I'll attach it here for now until we need to use it later. But, you know, you wouldn't have that kind of detail there if they were merely faking it. You got a spherical fuel tank here of some kind.
Engines used for controlling the attitude of the
They covered it up in some plastic. That looks like a zip tie, but I'm not really sure.
They enable the pilot to maneuver the vehicle
tank.
Up, down, forward, backward, or sideways. In the lower portion of the module is the rocket engine, which provides
the bottom engine. Now, this part is another point of contention amongst the flat Earth community, and I can, you know, understand why, but it doesn't make it right. So what we want to do is we want to look at Apollo 16, because of course many would argue or question and complain, where is the blast crater, they might say. You know, I mean, I don't see much of a blast crater. That's not an unreasonable question. So let's see if we can find Apollo 16. However, there, Apollo... I cannot see where the text got highlighted. Okay, so I'm trying to find... It's not my... I gotta say, the categorization here isn't as good as I remember it. I might be doing navigation wrong here. But we got Apollo 15. Alright, so it's on the next page, or the next page perhaps, so we're just gonna kind of sort of manually look until we find it. There's got to be a better way to do this. Oh cool, and we have a video that goes with that too. So this is why I wanted to download. Whoops, I'm not on screen, I'm sorry. There we go, back on screen. So we're looking for Project Apollo, Apollo 16. I don't know how long the webcam was looking at me just now, so well, good thing the title of the video doesn't match the topic, huh? Okay, very good. So what they mean by this is Apollo 16 magazine. It's like a film magazine. And, you know, these are some of the images while preparing to land. And it's like, why would you fake such a low quality photo? You know, I mean, you would bust your ass to make it look real. Okay, maybe I'm, that's not a good talking point there, but, I mean, you know, looks real enough to me. I mean, the contrast is off, you know, you gotta, you know, sometimes take the scanned film and make some adjustments. They were probably shooting these photographs through a window. I mean, they had to be, by necessity, yes. They were shooting these photos through a window. The shadows over here look pretty consistent, you know, they're coming in from one side. Basically, yeah. And of course, that is not a smoking gun to say that shadows are coming from multiple angles in the photos from the ground image. I mean, the moon is bright as F. Like, it's bright as hell when you're near it. It's bright when you're looking at it during the daytime. It looks pretty bright, even though it's washed out by the sky. So, no surprise there that if you're standing next to something that is highly reflective, you might get a lot of multiple shadows. You're not getting light from a single source. You're getting the sun plus everything that reflects sunlight. So here's the fun part here. Okay, let's see. So this is what I'm really interested in. I want to see a good picture of the Apollo 16 blast crater, because Apollo 16 was one of the few landings where you actually get a blast crater, like a good proper, there we go, that's perfect. So during most of these Apollo moon landings, we're going to use a Star Fury as our demonstration unit. They typically didn't go straight down and land. A lot of times they would start by going down while sideways. They'd have to slow down their downward velocity, but even when doing that, they would still be going slow in a horizontal direction. So most of the upward thrust that you would expend to slow down your downward fall would occur over here. And then even after slowing down your vertical velocity, you would still be moving slowly to the left. And then you would touch down pretty softly despite it being a practical freefall. And so any blast crater, you know, you wouldn't get it in the landing site if you only ran your thrust over here to slow down and then moved sideways like that. However, in Apollo 16, there was an issue. They almost landed on a boulder. And so, pretty close to the landing spot, they had to reinitialize the thrusters. And then land. And so, as a result, that's a terrible picture, but you can still see this from one of those lunar reconnaissance orbiters. Like, you see this like star pattern of the, you know, of the blast crater from the, you know, engine kicking in. I think probably that lady Amy Shira Titel probably does a video about this. But yeah, perhaps in a future video I'll go into better detail, because I'm not happy with the quality of the pictures that I showed you today. But I've seen a better image before of the Apollo 16 blast crater. And it was pretty substantial. See, that's like an actual studio, obviously. But anyway, so what I wanted to do right now is get us a picture of Apollo 16 from the archive and use that imagery to show what I was talking about. Did I just do it again? I really got to get into a habit of I really got to get in a habit of showing my desktop when I'm supposed to be showing my desktop. I did it like 5 times in this stream alone. Okay, so we're gonna go into the Project Apollo archive, and we're not gonna find Apollo 16 because that would just be too easy. Like, okay, screw this. Oh, here we are. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. It's like these are all just high quality technical images with the crop marks and snap, you know, crosses on them. But you can see this is like the area they were trying to land. And at some point they had to kick in the rockets one more time and move horizontally just a little more downrange. But it did screw things up a little bit. And this is cool. This is like a calibration card where you can actually take your, if you know the colors that are here, you could probably colorize these photographs. So that's actually really cool. Alright, so I want Apollo 16. And well, that was not helpful at all. Here we go. Okay, good. These look like a lot of these like publicity shots before the mission. Okay, this is during after mission. This is during re-entry basically. Okay, good. We're getting warmer. I just lost it, but we... Okay, that's ascension. That is the ascent stage. I'm not sure if this is relevant, it just looks cool. Okay, good. We got the Lunar rover. It looks like somebody dropped something on the ground, did a little littering. Okay, good. That is basically something, so not a great picture, but let's see if we can identify anything about it. Well, you know, it looks kind of messy. Obviously, the footprints would have occurred after landing. It's hard to see underneath here. It looks like what they did was they removed a bunch of mylar covering from the side of the vehicle in order to access some of their experiments. Because what they would do is they would use the bottom of the vehicle as external storage, or basically, you know, just, yeah, external storage, just to get, you know, store things that didn't need to be inside. Because not everything needed air. It's a messed up picture, like all scuffed up. But yeah, I got my work cut out for me because, you know, you can see the way these photos are all over the place. So I'm going to do a little roundup and get some pictures together. Because at the very least, I would have loved to have an Apollo 16 landing site or blast crater photo, and I feel that the images that I presented here today are not high quality enough, but they do show something. Like, you see tracks between the lunar car, the lunar buggy, the lunar rover, and I gotta get my butt on my bicycle before it gets too late, because I really want to ride my bike today, and I wasted today, and unfortunately I gotta go somewhere early morning tomorrow, and I may not get to do it tomorrow knowing how timing is. But you know, this is like as good as I can get right now. But that is the Apollo 16 landing site, and what I would like to do is show more photos like this one here. In, you know, higher resolution, to see if we could see any evidence of a blast crater. I'm sure they took multiple photos from different angles, and that is what we're going to explore. But real quick, we're also going to touch upon these where is it? We're also going to touch upon those planets we spoke about before. If I could find the... Here we are. So, you know, we spoke about yesterday during a live stream on Paul's Game Room about some of these objects here. Computer, are you recording? Okay, good. So yeah, these are some of the popular dwarf planets, and essentially Pluto was renamed from planet, or redesignated as a dwarf planet, and part of the reason is because if you call Pluto a planet, you have to call other objects a planet as well. And so my case in point will be referencing Sedna today. Sedna is an object that I refer to as an object neighboring Pluto, but this is not quite correct. It's not quite neighboring Pluto. You could say maybe its orbit is somewhat in a similar neighborhood, but you'll see why in a moment. So, okay, we got our 49 to 29 astronomical unit distance. That's about 7 to 4 billion kilometers. I don't know what that is in freedom units. That's Pluto. And its orbital period. So we got 7 to 4 million, 49 AU to 39, and 247 years is one, or it's one revolution around the sun is 247 years. Now let's look at Sedna. Sedna is 937 AU to 76 AU. So it's literally at its closest. It's about twice as far away as Pluto is, or like maybe like a little more than that. But it's a little further away than Pluto at its closest. About 30 AU further away. So not that close. And it can go as far as 937 astronomical units. So it goes from, if I'm reading this correctly, yeah, 5 light days. Okay, 5.4 light days. And if I'm reading this, that's I've never seen this unit of measure before. Terameter. It's like, what the hell is a terameter? I think I know what it is, but I want to get a definition of what it is. It's a terameter. Okay, a terameter. 10 to 12 meters. 2 kilometer. I just want to know what the... No, what the... Just give me a freaking scientific notation. How many kilometers is 1 terameter? Like, I don't want these stupid exponent. I need to know this in English. Okay, good. I could do 0. So that's one set of zeros. So that'll be 100,000, 100 million, 1 billion kilometers. Great. So Sedna is 11 billion kilometers to 140 million billion. Wait. It's the reason we use these large units. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1,000 million billion. Okay, billion. Okay. So it's 140 billion. Okay, it's 11 billion to 140 billion kilometers. That is the distance. So very broad. 11 billion, 140 billion. Hardly fits on our screen here. So it's got a very elliptical orbit, and we can see that. So in a future stream, I will prepare this a little bit more thoroughly. But Sedna is this red circle here. That is Sedna right there. Okay, this is everything else, and this is Sedna. And let's see here if we can get another comparison. Okay, so if Pluto is this purple line, Sedna is way out here. And then in this picture, Pluto is, this purple line on the inside here. And Sedna is here. So this is what we mean by, maybe we can, add another criteria. In order for a planet to not be a dwarf planet, it has to have a normal orbit. Okay, Pluto, you could argue, has a fairly normal orbit, having a orbital period of 247 years, and a, closeness, paraphelion, and a aphelion of 4 billion to 7 billion kilometers. That's 4 to 7 billion kilometers versus Sedna's 10 billion, 11 billion to 140 billion kilometers. And you know the planet is far away when the best picture you got of it looks like this. Like, this is like, even when you look at it zoomed out, it basically looks pixelated just like this. You know the object is freaking far away when it looks like this on a picture. And then this picture is showing the inner Oort cloud. And in this picture here with Pluto, Pluto is basically kissing the Kuiper Belt. Sedna is considered a Kuiper Belt object, I guess. You know, I mean, I gotta do a little homework on this, but it is obscenely far away, and it is among a cadre of other objects that probably have more in common with asteroids than they do with planets. But then you got Haumea. And this one here has a 284-year orbital period. So that's a little bit more sane. I'm sorry, 5 billion kilometers to 7 billion kilometers. So this one doesn't have a highly elliptical orbit, but it's far away. It is pretty far away. 5 billion versus Pluto is 4 to 7 billion. So, you know, in fact, yeah, Pluto is closer, and other times it's further away than this object. You know, these all have interesting orbits. Haumea, now look at that one here. You know, you can see like a couple of moons orbiting it here. They're reflecting a bit of light. So, you know, that's Haumea compared to Pluto, for example. And we know it's got 2 satellites, and somehow someone figured out that it's got an oval shape, and probably because of the changing light curve here. And you could consistently measure that, and due to the consistent change of that shape, it's pretty easy to surmise the shape of the object. So that's pretty cool. And, you know, sometimes you get these artist renditions that try to take a guess at it. But too much guessing right now, so I'm not gonna go there. I want to see Eris, sort of like that person on Loki's show, Eris of Chaos. Now this one here has a orbital period of how long? Let's see here. A lot of large numbers here. Orbital speed 600 years, roughly 559, 600 years, and its perihelion versus its aphelion is 5 billion kilometers to 14 billion kilometers. So it's easier to use astronomical units. In a future video I'm going to use astronomical units, but this is what we're talking about right here. 5 to 14 trillion. Once again, you know it's far away when you get a picture that looks like that. I don't know why this is in red. Oh, Hubble Space Telescope. What settings did they use? Anyway. They got an atmosphere measurement. Infrared spectrum shows the marked similarities between the two bodies. Okay, they're comparing Pluto to Eris and perhaps identifying atmospheric characteristics. Maki. It's got a funny face on it. Once again, you know, we got more detail on NASA's website. And once again, like, when you got a picture like this, you know the darn thing is far away. Perihelion and aphelion, 5 to 7 billion kilometers, or 38 to 52 astronomical units. Once again, this one's a clearer picture, but it looks like something I captured on my telescope. 60% of Pluto's diameter. Now, I'd say let's compare Sedna to Pluto. Now, once again, their orbits are radically different, but their sizes, and this is Universe Today. I'd say go and watch the originator's content if you want detail from a person who actually put effort into their video. Pluto is over here. Hydra is over here. Oh, here we are. No, Charon is over here, and Hydra, because Pluto has multiple moons, as it turns out. Eris has its moon. There we go. Look at Eris and Pluto. Eris and Pluto. So, bottom line up front, Pluto has a relatively sane orbital period of 247 years. Whereas Sedna has a orbital period of like thousands of years. But the size is comparable. In this picture here, Sedna is actually the size of a little smaller than Pluto's moon. So in fairness, bottom line up front, I'm gonna have to edit the shit out of this. Bottom line up front, Pluto is comparably sized to other objects near the Kuiper Belt and trans-Neptunian objects. Tongue twister. Oh, Zanzotan, look at that. You're catching me in a tongue twister here. Well, good afternoon, Zanzotan. Oh, cool. So let's see here. Yeah, I was just testing out this StreamYard thing because, you know, I've never used it before. Yeah, man, I'm taking it easy, staying out of trouble. I mean, I gotta get off my ass soon. I wanted to ride my bike today. And it was sunny just like a half hour ago, but that's besides the point. You know, I just wanted to test out StreamYard because in the future I'd like to kind of copycat from you. Because, you know, I like the way, you know, when you're doing a stream, sometimes you let people join. Pacific 414 does the same thing. He lets people join his stream. And other than that, I figure, you know, I'm already talking to people in the, you know, in the chat. So if I was not planning on going for my bike ride soon, I would encourage you to jump in and, you know, jump in and join the stream, which I might do a stream later on after Loki and, well, actually, Nerdporeal Lifeform is doing a stream tonight. So if I do a stream, I'll probably end up doing it tomorrow night because I got to be somewhere in the morning tomorrow. But I really wanted to do a stream tonight, but probably won't have time. I mean, I could just skip my bike ride, but, you know, gotta get that exercise. So probably tomorrow night, because tomorrow night I don't have work on Saturday, so it's like the, you know, final night on my weekend before I could do such a thing. But, you know, like, instead of me constantly having to talk to the chat, might as well have people join. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's perfect, because like I said, then good. I'll put it out there. I'll put it on blast tomorrow if I do a stream, and you'll be among the people to know, and you're more than welcome to join. I definitely would, you know, appreciate some interplay, you know. But, you know, quick, short version, because I'm going to edit this video. I'm just making myself a bottom line up front that Pluto is a downgraded to a dwarf planet because if you were to keep Pluto as a planet, you would have to consider making these other objects into planets. These known as trans-Neptunian objects and these other dwarf planets. And yesterday I incorrectly said that Pluto was similarly sized to Sedna, which is, you know, got a weird name. It's not Sedna, it's I want to get the name right. 90377 Sedna. So yeah, you know the freaking planet is far away when it's got a picture like this and it's got a number before its name. But really, Pluto is comparably sized to Eris right over here. You can see very close in size. Heck, we might not even have the size calculation correct. Sometimes you calculate these things and then 50 years later you figure out, oh, actually it's much larger. So, you know, if we do like a quick reference to Sedna's orbit versus Pluto's orbit, that would be of interest to me, and this would be where I would leave. And yeah, there we go. Good. This is exactly what I wanted to see. And once again, I'm ripping off this guy's website. Well, looks like I'm clicking on his advertisements anyway. UniverseToday.com. Yeah, so I mean, look, it's a messy subject. Like, we can't let emotions take over our scientific logic here, you know? But in fairness, I was talking about Sedna before, and Sedna's orbit was like, if this is like, you know, Pluto is in the purple over here, Sedna was like, okay, I'm gonna show a reference here. Okay, this is Pluto's orbit. Sedna was like here. Like, that is Sedna, okay? Super wide orbit. So, in fairness, like, we could use that as a criteria, whereas Eris, okay, it's got a slightly more sane orbit if this is to scale, which I don't think it is. Yeah, you know, like I said, like, these other objects are much harder to see than Pluto. So I don't know. I mean, I'll roll with it. I'll go whatever you want to call it. I'm fine with it. Just, you know, I wasn't upset when they downgraded it because, you know, we'll get a Planet 9. You know, Planet 9 could be vastly cooler than Pluto. Planet 9 could be like a brown dwarf star that we don't even see. I think that's probably one of the more fringe theories I've heard, but I mean, I'll think about it. Now, where did I put it? Like, some of these things have these obscene orbits, like, like these. And so, one of the interesting theories that I heard, they did. You pulling my leg? But anyway, you know, some of these things have, like, obscenely wide orbits here, you know, and, Planet 9 could be... Oh, shit, I'm doing it again. I always forget to switch to my screen. Bad habit. I was just showing some of these weird orbits here, but, like, you know, we got all of our outer planets, like, in this little center here. Then you got all of this... Yeah, no, it's true. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, Sailor Pluto. Well, maybe we should start naming Sailor Sentry after dwarf planets. You know, we could have, like, a bunch more, you know? We could have, like, more of them. And, look, I mean, it's not like Princess Kogoria and company would know. If they still depend on our scientific research, apparently, for all of their silver crystals and, you know, whatever they call it, Imperium Silver Crystal, all of their crystal technology, apparently they still depend on conventional science. Or, you know, hand wave. Sailor Maki Maki sounds cool too, yeah. So, you know, the most fringe theory I heard about, you know, the past was regarding the Tower of Babel story. So, the idea was that you have a brown dwarf star on an obscenely wide orbit, like these dwarf planets, and every, say, 2,000, 5,000, 15,000 years, it comes close to Earth, and then it spends most of its orbit far, far away. A brown dwarf doesn't emit a lot of light. It's sort of like a dark Jupiter. But when it gets close to you, it emits a lot of radiation. So this theory, I'm not saying I buy it, I just found it kind of compelling, was that you got the Tower of Babel under construction. It's like tall as heck. And then this dwarf planet comes in, shakes everything up, and it starts to collapse. And around the same time, people lose the ability to speak, or, you know, like, of course, when I told my coworker this, he goes, no, you gotta read the Bible. He doesn't even, you know, he's not religious, he's just telling me to read the Bible to find, you know, different conspiracy theory angles. And he's saying that, no, it's because the languages were split up or some shit. I'm like, whatever, same thing. People lost intelligence. The point was that in this video I saw years ago, this podcast years ago, the assertion was the radiation from the brown dwarf star caused people's synapses to disconnect from each other, and essentially you went from having like a normal, let's say, IQ of 100 to having an IQ of 40. And perhaps that would be enough to cause people to lose their ability to use language, and then it would take 50 years, 20 years, or whatever, for languages to re-emerge separately. But, you know, that is the point, you know. So, you know, this is like an interesting way to incorporate that. Yeah, you know, I mean, that's the very interesting thing. So I don't know, you know, I mean, we have like, you know, the geological record, and, you know, you go through the layers of rock strata and there's different disasters. And, you know, just the fact that, you know, the maintenance people would get messed up, power plants, like you said, if you have big earthquakes damaging things. I mean, geology goes crazy, you get the polar flip. There's a lot of, you know, disasters that happen on a somewhat cyclical basis that we haven't really scratched the surface on, and hopefully we're not due. I mean, sort of like those, if you remember the story of the Carrington event, what is that, 1850, 1860? Which is a different topic, but this one here is 1859 Carrington event. We had a solar flare or coronal mass ejection, and one of the cool things it did was it fried the telegraph circuits, and it caused the batteries, because back then a lot of the telegraph stations were powered by battery. And so the telegram operators had to disconnect the batteries from the system, and it shorted out. Like, it, I mean, it had a charge. So basically, even after unplugging the battery that was shorting out, they were still able to send Morse code messages, because the telegraph wires acted like an antenna to receive electricity from the sun or from the coronal mass ejection. And that allowed them to send messages back and forth in some places. And this was a situation where you had like northern lights over Chicago. Normally you don't really get bright, distinct northern lights over cities like Chicago. Like last year they said, oh yeah, there's a solar storm, you can see the northern lights from New York. From my part of New York, you could not see the northern lights because we're, you know, we got light pollution. Now if you were upstate New York, Buffalo, New York, yeah, you would see the northern lights from over there. But not from here. But during the Carrington event of 1859, you could read your newspaper under the light from the Aurora Borealis, or whatever they called it. You could read a newspaper at nighttime under that glow. And back then they didn't really have a power grid. All they had was telegraph stations. So not a big deal. But today, you know, like you said before, yeah, it's pretty insane. And we can do stuff to harden our power lines. But I mean, we both live in countries that have their fair share or not so fair share of corrupt politicians. And, well, you know, you did a great stream. It's almost hilarious. I mean, I did find it hilarious, but, you know, it's sad at the same time. Like, you get politicians going around inaugurating water fountains, inaugurating a street sign, and it's like, we do that here too. It's like, it's pork. You know, it's like, we got money from the federal government to spend in this congressional district. I'm gonna pat myself on the back and do a photo op as a politician, and the people who are in my party will be like, he's a great politician, he got money for our district. And it's like, I want to see a politician who puts real effort into like hardening our power grid, but nobody wants to do upfront investment on something that might happen. They want their short-term benefit, and frankly, these congressmen and senators, a lot of them, I think they got like a pretty good contingency living setup. They got like an underground place to live that's pretty well stocked. So their asses aren't exactly on the line. And you know, you lose the power grid, like, you know, we might be alive, we might be fine, we might not get irradiated, but you know how people get. I mean, you see people on Black Friday fighting over a fucking TV. You know, TV that they can get for like $300 because, you know, people are overworked and underpaid, or they don't work, either way. And, you know, suddenly instead of just spending $500 on a TV during August, they wait till December to get a TV, or November to get a TV for $300. And, I mean, one of these days I gotta do a whole monologue on Black Friday and why a lot of the shittiest products are sold. Like, some companies will literally make a special item number. Like, if I buy an external hard drive on Black Friday, it'll have its own serial number, because this is a model of piece of shit hard drive that they won't sell during any other time of the year. But, you know, Western Digital, Seagate, they're not gonna sell their best quality hard drives off the shelf to my ass if I only want to spend $20 on a $60 hard drive. So they always make sure that, you know, it's their stuff they want to get rid of, basically. Now, one interesting thing about politicians caring about their own term was during two things. So, senators in the United States have a 6-year term instead of a 4-year term. You know, our president has a 4-year term. I think our Congress people have a 4-year term. Some of them have a midterm election. So, that can be interesting. But the idea of a 6-year term is interesting because the theory behind it is that those senators will have a longer term outlook. And at risk of getting in trouble, comparison between the Confederate States of America back during the Civil War era. The Confederates, they also had a 6-year presidential term. And forget about all of the institutionalized slavery and all of that. Just the idea of having a 6-year term is an interesting experiment. If only, you know, they weren't like fucked up in that way. If only there was another secession that didn't have anything to do with slavery going on somewhere else in this country. I would be very fascinated to see how things panned out for a nation in this part of the continent that has 6-year presidential terms. I don't know if it would be better or worse, or just be interesting competition. Cool. I'm very curious to hear about what they do for sales. I was watching a guy, he's like a YouTube prepper, and he was talking about... But yeah, good. I gotta go too, man. You enjoy your dinner, Zanzo10. We'll talk Sunday or tomorrow, and you have a good evening. And with that, I am hereby signing off.